Wemby and Jokic just did it again. The second of their back-to-backs against each other was even crazier. Nikola Jokic and Wemby just gave us a show for the ages. This wasn't just another basketball game. It felt like a clash of basketball ideologies, a meeting of greatness, and a glimpse into the future of the league. Jokic, the reigning king of offensive brilliance, delivered one of his most spectacular performances, while Wemby showed the world exactly why he's being hailed as the NBA's next big thing. Let's talk about Jokic first. The man put up 46 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. That stat line is enough to make any coach smile and every opposing team shiver. It wasn't just the numbers though. It was how he did it. Jokic plays the game at his own pace, like he's operating in his own universe, always a step ahead. His touch around the rim is soft, his passing is surgical, and his footwork is so smooth you'd think he was a guard. Jokic is one of those players who doesn't just play basketball, he orchestrates it. And then there's Wemby. On his 21st birthday, Wemby grabbed a career-high 23 rebounds, scored 20 points, dished out 3 assists, and blocked 4 shots. Let's not gloss over this. 23 rebounds on your birthday is absurd. It's the kind of thing that makes you stop and ask, is this guy even real? The last time anyone had a 20-point, 20-rebound game on their birthday was Dwight Howard in 2017. Wemby's performance didn't just make history. It announced that he's already one of the league's elite. What made this game special was how these two went at it. Jokic and Wemby weren't just playing against each other. They were testing each other. It was like watching 2 different eras of basketball collide. Jokic, with his unmatched offensive skill set, took Wemby to task in every way imaginable. He tied Wilt Chamberlain for the most 45-point, 10-assist games by a center in NBA history. That's the kind of milestone that doesn't happen often, and it's a testament to just how dominant Jokic has become. But even as Jokic was putting up those insane numbers, Wemby was making him work for every inch of it. Wemby's length, defensive instincts, and ability to recover are already giving Jokic problems. Let's be clear, Jokic is averaging 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists against Wemby this season. Those are video game numbers. Yet Wemby has still managed to stand out as his toughest challenge. That says everything about the kind of impact Wemby is having already. One of the craziest parts of this matchup was how it wasn't a one-off. This was the second game between these two in just a few days, and it delivered again. The Nuggets won in overtime, 122-111, but the score only tells part of the story. Jokic's conditioning, especially for a big man, is something that doesn't get enough attention. This was his second straight game, taking 35 shots, something that hasn't been done since Kobe Bryant in 2007. Think about that. A big man carrying that kind of offensive load and still finding ways to dominate late in games? That's Jokic in a nutshell. Wemby, on the other hand, struggled with his shooting a bit more in the second matchup, but that's to be expected. You're not going to have perfect nights against someone like Jokic. What stood out about Wemby wasn't just his rebounding or his scoring, it was his presence. He's already becoming the kind of player who alters the game just by being on the court. Opposing offenses have to think twice about driving into the lane when he's lurking. Jokic himself admitted that Wemby made him work harder, and that's high praise from a player who rarely looks uncomfortable. The mutual respect between these two was evident. After the game, Wemby called Jokic a soon-to-be MVP again and said that players like him push you to get better. Jokic, in turn, had nothing but good things to say about Wemby, emphasizing how special he is as a player. It's not just the fans who are hyped about this rivalry. The players themselves know they're part of something bigger. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, the game. What's frustrating though is how little attention these matchups are getting on a national level. Back-to-back games between Jokic and Wemby should be marquee events. This isn't just basketball, it's theater. These are the kinds of games that fans will talk about years from now. The kind you'll see on hardwood classics in 20 years. But for some reason, they're not getting the spotlight they deserve. That needs to change, because this is the kind of rivalry that could define an era. The comparisons between these two and other great matchups in NBA history are already rolling in. Some are saying it feels like Kobe Bryant versus Michael Jordan, with Jokic playing the role of the master and Wemby as the student. Others are calling it the best rivalry we've seen since Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. What makes this so compelling is that it's not just about offense versus defense. It's about the old guard versus the new. Jokic is in his prime, a 2-time MVP who's mastered every aspect of the game. Wemby is the young phenom, still learning, but already capable of moments of brilliance that few can replicate. This isn't to say Wemby is without flaws. He's still figuring out how to be consistent on offense, and his shooting percentage dipped in this second game against Jokic, but that's part of the process. What's exciting is how quickly he's learning and adapting. You can see it in the way he approaches each game. He's not just trying to win, he's trying to understand the game on a deeper level. That's a scary thought for the rest of the league, because once he puts it all together, he's going to be unstoppable. On the flip side, Jokic's dominance feels effortless. Watching him play, you get the sense that he's always in control. Whether he's scoring, passing, or setting screens, everything he does has a purpose. His ability to elevate his teammates is unparalleled, and it's one of the reasons why the Nuggets are so dangerous. Jokic doesn't just make the right play, he makes the perfect play. That level of precision is what separates good players from great ones, and Jokic is firmly in the latter category. But even Jokic isn't immune to Wemby's impact. Wemby's defensive instincts are so advanced for someone his age. He's already altering shots and shutting down driving lanes in ways that most players can't. That kind of defensive presence is what makes him a potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate. And let's not forget his rebounding. Pulling down 23 rebounds against a team like the Nuggets is no small feat. It's a testament to his timing, positioning, and sheer determination. What's clear after these two games is that Jokic and Wemby are on a collision course for greatness. Their matchups aren't just games, they're events. Every time they step on the court together, they raise the bar for what basketball can be. Jokic might have the upper hand right now, but Wemby is coming. He's learning, growing, and getting closer to that mountaintop with every game. The first time these two meet in the Western Conference Finals is going to be must-watch basketball, and it might just be the start of something historic. What we're seeing with Jokic and Wemby is the beauty of basketball at its highest level. It's a blend of skill, intelligence, and sheer willpower. It's the kind of thing that makes you fall in love with the game all over again. So, let's appreciate it while we can. These two are giving us something special, and it's only going to get better from here. The crazy part, as we all know, this was part of a back-to-back between them. In the first game was Elite 2. Nikola Jokic and Wemby clashing 2 nights ago felt like a seismic shift in the basketball world. These two superstar centers put on a show that wasn't just about numbers. It was about the future of the sport. What they did on that court will be talked about for years. And honestly, it should be. Let's break down just how incredible it was. Wemby's performance was jaw-dropping. 35 points on 64% shooting. That's ridiculous. Add in 18 rebounds and 4 assists, and you've got a stat line most players could only dream of. But it wasn't just about the raw stats, it was how he did it. He looked comfortable, confident, and completely unfazed by the fact he was sharing the court with one of the greatest players in the world. At just 20 years old, he played with a poise that's hard to believe. Jokic, on the other hand, was his usual dominant self. 41 points, 18 rebounds, and 9 assists. Let that sink in. 9 assists from a center. That's what makes Jokic so special. He doesn't just score, he creates. Even on a night where he missed 21 shots, he still controlled the flow of the game. His ability to impact every aspect of the game is what separates him from almost every other player in NBA history. Together, these two combined for 76 points, 36 rebounds, and 13 assists. That's a stat line you'd expect from an entire team, not 2 players. It's the kind of performance that cements their status as generational talents. And the historical context, this was the first NBA game since 1983 where 2 players posted at least 35 points and 18 rebounds. That's over 40 years of basketball, and these two made it happen in the same game. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. What stood out the most wasn't just the stats though, it was the way they pushed each other. Jokic, the reigning MVP, brought his full arsenal, showing why he's considered the best player in the world. But Wemby didn't back down. He went toe-to-toe with Jokic in a way that very few players have ever been able to. It wasn't just a battle of skill, it was a battle of eras. Jokic, the established superstar, versus Wemby, the phenom who's already making a case as one of the league's best. Wemby's ability to rise to the occasion was incredible. He played nearly the entire fourth quarter with 5 fouls, something that would rattle most players, but not Wemby. He stayed composed, focused, and delivered in the clutch. It's one thing to put up numbers in a blowout, but doing it under pressure against the reigning MVP, that's a whole different level of greatness. And let's not forget Jokic's brilliance. His 41 points came on 15 of 36 shooting, which might not sound efficient by his standards, but it speaks to his willingness to shoulder the load. He started slow from beyond the arc, hitting just one of his first 6 attempts, but he kept shooting, eventually finding his rhythm. That's the thing about Jokic, he's relentless. Even when his shot isn't falling, he finds ways to make an impact. Whether it's with his passing, his rebounding, or just his sheer presence on the court, Jokic is always a threat. The historical implications of this game can't be overstated. Seeing two players put up these kinds of numbers in the same game is something we might not see again for decades. It felt like a glimpse into the future of the NBA, where big men aren't just dominating in the paint, they're dominating every aspect of the game. Wemby's ability to stretch the floor, defend the rim, and control the glass is a blueprint for the modern center. And Jokic, he's already redefining what it means to be a big man. His combination of size, skill, and basketball IQ is unmatched. Wemby's growth this season has been nothing short of spectacular. Over his last 8 games, he's been averaging nearly 32 points, over 10 rebounds, and almost 5 blocks per game. Those are MVP caliber numbers. The narrative that he's too skinny or not ready for the NBA's physicality has been completely shattered. He's not just surviving, he's thriving. And it's not just the numbers, it's the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and the way he impacts the game on both ends of the floor. And then there's his first 100 games. The comparisons are staggering. More points than LeBron James, more rebounds than Anthony Davis, more blocks than Hakeem, and more three-pointers than Steph Curry. Think about that. He's already rewriting the record books, and he's just getting started. The combination of size, skill, and basketball IQ he possesses is something we've never seen before. Jokic, of course, continues to prove why he's one of the best to ever play the game. This season, he's averaging 30 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists on 56% shooting. His ability to impact the game in so many ways makes him the ultimate weapon. He doesn't just score, he orchestrates. Watching him play is like watching a maestro conduct an orchestra. Every move has a purpose, and every possession runs through him. The Spurs deserve credit for how they handled this game. Missing key players like Jeremy Sohan, they leaned on their depth to stay competitive. Rookie Stephon Castle chipped in with 8 points and 4 assists, while Devin Vassell added 18 points, including 10 crucial ones in the third quarter. It was a total team effort, and their ability to regroup after losing a 12-point lead showed resilience. They may not have the star power of the Nuggets, but they're building something special. Looking ahead, the future of this matchup is tantalizing. Wemby's potential is limitless. If he can develop passing skills even close to Jokic's, he might go down as one of the most dominant big men in history. He's already showing flashes, but if he makes it a consistent part of his game, the sky's the limit. As for Jokic, he's still in his prime, but it's hard not to think about the next 5 years. By then, Wemby could be a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year and a perennial MVP candidate, while Jokic will be in his mid-30s. The torch isn't being passed yet, but it's only a matter of time. This game wasn't just a great performance, it was a statement. Jokic showed why he's still at the top, and Wemby showed why he's next in line. These two are pushing the game forward, and we're lucky to witness it. Every time they step on the court together, it feels like a moment that matters. The next time these two face off, you can bet it'll be another classic. But it really is crazy how when these two match up, it's all-time offense against all-time defense. Let's look at Jokic and the offense first. Nikola Jokic's offensive game is on another planet. The numbers don't just describe his dominance, they scream it. His true shooting percentage is an absurd 65.1%, placing him in the 93rd percentile. That means Jokic isn't just efficient, he's ruthlessly effective. He maximizes every shot, every free throw, and every opportunity he gets. It's one thing to score, but doing it with that level of efficiency while being the primary focus of every defense, that's wild. The scoring quality metric at 71.3 speaks volumes about his shot selection. Jokic isn't just jacking up shots, he's creating high percentage looks that keep defenders scrambling. He reads defenses like a book and always finds the best way to exploit them. His ability to position himself perfectly, whether it's for a quick release in the paint or a soft jumper from mid-range, is unmatched. Then there's his free throw rate, which stands at 30.9%, landing him in the 78th percentile. Jokic knows how to draw contact and get to the line, but he does it without forcing the issue. He isn't flopping or looking for calls. He's simply using his craftiness and footwork to keep defenders off balance. Every trip to the free throw line is a reminder of how hard it is to guard him without fouling. What's even more fascinating is his reliance on the three-point shot, or lack of it. With a three-point attempt rate of just 20.5%, Jokic shows that he doesn't need to live behind the arc to be effective. While so many players rely heavily on threes to boost their scoring, Jokic bucks the trend. He dominates from the post, the mid-range, and everywhere in between. That kind of versatility is rare in today's game, where the three-pointer often reigns supreme. His offensive rebounding rate is another testament to his impact, sitting in the 85th percentile at 1.1. It's easy to overlook this stat when you consider how much of Jokic's game revolves around facilitating and scoring, but his ability to grab those second chance opportunities is crucial. Every offensive rebound means another shot for his team, and that's the kind of value that goes beyond the box score. Turnovers? Practically a non-issue for Jokic. His turnover rate is just 6.6%, ranking in the 75th percentile. That's insane for a player who touches the ball as much as he does. Jokic isn't just efficient as a scorer, he's meticulous as a playmaker. He rarely makes mistakes, even when operating under immense defensive pressure. It's almost unfair how he manages to maintain that level of precision while carrying such a massive offensive load. Speaking of load, his offensive load metric is a perfect 65.3, maxing out at 100. This stat essentially quantifies how much of the offense runs through him, and for Jokic, it's everything. He isn't just another piece of the puzzle, he's the entire framework. His ability to control the pace, read the defense, and create opportunities for his teammates makes him the ultimate offensive engine. His creation metric is equally impressive, sitting at 18.7, also maxed out at 100. This reflects how many opportunities Jokic generates for others, whether through his scoring or his playmaking. His passing is on a completely different level. With a passer rating of 8.9, he ranks in the 99th percentile. That's not just elite, it's historic. Jokic isn't just making the right pass, he's making the perfect pass. Whether it's a no-look dish, a full court outlet, or a bounce pass through traffic, his vision and execution are unmatched. Portability is where Jokic's brilliance really shines. Scoring a 9.5 in this category, also maxed out at 100, shows just how adaptable his game is. He doesn't need a system built around him to thrive. He is the system. Jokic's ability to elevate his teammates and fit seamlessly into any lineup makes him the most versatile offensive weapon in the league. Whether he's playing with sharpshooters, slashers, or big men, he finds ways to make everyone better. And then there's his crafted offensive, plus-minus score of 5.8, another perfect 100. This stat measures a player's overall impact on the offensive end. And for Jokic, it's off the charts. He isn't just putting up numbers, he's transforming his team's offense into one of the most efficient units in the league. Without Jokic, the Nuggets are good. With him, they're unstoppable. What makes Jokic's offense so special is the way he blends finesse and power. He doesn't rely on brute strength to dominate, nor does he depend solely on his touch or shooting ability. Instead, he combines everything: footwork, timing, vision, and IQ into a seamless package that leaves defenses scrambling. He can score in so many ways: a soft hook shot, a feathery floater, or even a pull-up jumper if the situation calls for it. And when the defense overcommits, he punishes them with his passing. Jokic's ability to create opportunities in high-pressure situations is another reason his offense stands out. Double teams, traps, or even switching defenders don't faze him. He always seems one step ahead, knowing exactly where his teammates will be and how to get them the ball. It doesn't matter if the defense throws everything at him. He adapts and finds a way to succeed. What's wild is how consistent he is throughout the season. Jokic isn't just putting up numbers in bursts. He's doing it night after night. That level of sustained excellence is what separates the good from the truly great. His ability to maintain his efficiency while shouldering such a massive offensive role is something we've rarely seen in NBA history. Even his off-ball movement is incredible. Jokic doesn't just stand around when he isn't handling the ball. He sets screens, cuts to the basket, and finds open spaces to keep the defense guessing. It's easy to overlook this part of his game because his passing and scoring are so dominant, but his off-ball work is just as impactful. He never stops moving, and that constant activity creates headaches for defenses trying to contain him. Jokic's offensive impact isn't just about scoring or playmaking. It's about making the game easier for everyone around him. His presence alone creates space for his teammates. Defenders have to respect his scoring ability, which opens up lanes for cutters and shooters. His ability to manipulate defenses without even touching the ball is something you don't see often, even among the game's greats. And let's not forget his mental approach to the game. Jokic is always calm, composed, and in control. He never lets the moment get too big, and that steadiness translates to his teammates. They trust him to make the right play. And more often than not, he does. That kind of leadership, combined with his incredible skill set, is what makes Jokic such a unique offensive force. At the end of the day, Jokic's offense is a masterpiece. Every possession feels like an opportunity for something special, and more often than not, he delivers. His ability to blend efficiency, versatility, and creativity is unmatched, and his impact goes far beyond the numbers. Jokic doesn't just dominate, he redefines what it means to be an offensive star in the NBA. And honestly, watching him work is an absolute joy. But as good as Jokic's offense is, Wemby's defense is equally as good. Wemby's defense isn't just good, it's mind-blowing. The numbers show it, but even beyond the stats, you can see how much he changes the game. Let's start with his deflections. He averages 3.4 per game, putting him in the 89th percentile. That means Wemby has a knack for getting his hands on passes, disrupting offenses, and forcing mistakes. Every time the ball moves near him, it feels like he has radar. Deflections don't always show up in the box score, but they're a game changer. And Wemby is elite at it. His defensive rebounding rate is even more impressive, sitting at 1.4 and ranking in the 96th percentile. That's an absurd level of dominance on the glass. Defensive rebounding is about more than just grabbing boards. It's about finishing defensive possessions. Wemby doesn't just contest shots, he cleans up afterward, making sure opponents don't get second chances. His presence under the rim is a security blanket for his team, and it shows. Speaking of rim defense, Wemby's numbers are ridiculous. His opponents shoot 12.1% worse at the rim when he's defending, putting him in the 97th percentile. That's almost unheard of. Attacking the basket against Wemby isn't just risky, it's almost pointless. His length and timing make him one of the best rim protectors the league has ever seen. Players think twice, sometimes even 3 times, before challenging him at the rim, and for good reason. And then there's his rim frequency, 47.1%, ranking in the 96th percentile. This stat measures how often opponents attack the basket when Wemby is on the floor. The lower the number, the better. And for Wemby, it's a testament to how much he scares opponents out of even trying. His ability to defend the paint while also being mobile enough to switch on smaller players is a rare combination, and it makes him a nightmare for offenses. His block percentage is off the charts at 10.4, maxing out in the 100th percentile. Let that sink in. He's blocking more than 1 out of every 10 shots while on the court. That's not just elite, it's historic. Wemby doesn't just swat shots, he sends a message. His blocks aren't just about stopping a basket, they're about altering how teams approach the game entirely. He can shut down entire plays just by being in the right spot. And that kind of presence is invaluable. Wemby's ability to avoid fouling is another underrated part of his defense, with a personal foul rate of -0.4, ranking in the 74th percentile. He shows incredible discipline. For someone so aggressive and active on defense, the fact that he rarely puts opponents on the free throw line is remarkable. It's one thing to block shots and contest everything. It's another to do it without hacking. Wemby has that balance figured out. Now let's talk about versatility. His score of 16 might seem low, landing in the 26th percentile, but it reflects how specialized he is as a rim protector. That's not a knock on his game. It's just that Wemby excels so much in certain areas that his defensive focus is more defined. He doesn't need to guard every position, because what he does at the rim and in the paint is so impactful. His team builds their defense around his strengths, and it pays off in a big way. His defensive impact is summed up perfectly by his crafted defensive plus-minus, which is a stunning 3.3, ranking in the 99th percentile. This metric captures how much a player improves their team's defense while on the floor. And for Wemby, the answer is clear: a lot. His presence alone transforms the defensive identity of his team. When he's out there, opponents struggle to get good looks, and that's exactly what you want from your defensive anchor. What sets Wemby apart isn't just his raw stats, it's how he combines all his skills into one cohesive package. He isn't just a shot blocker, a rebounder, or a disruptor. He's all of those things at once. His ability to read the game and anticipate what opponents are going to do is almost unfair. He's like a chess master on defense, always a step ahead of everyone else. His length is obviously a huge factor, but it isn't just about being tall or having a massive wingspan. Wemby knows how to use his physical tools in ways that make him incredibly effective. He doesn't just stand there and wait for players to come to him. He moves, adjusts, and positions himself perfectly to make life miserable for anyone trying to score. His footwork is so precise that even quicker guards struggle to beat him off the dribble. Another thing that stands out is his ability to recover. Even when it looks like an opponent has beaten him, Wemby can still contest the shot. His combination of speed and length allows him to close gaps in an instant. Players think they have space, but it vanishes the moment Wemby extends his arm. That kind of recovery ability makes him one of the most frustrating defenders to go up against. And let's not forget his mental game. Wemby isn't just physically dominant, he's mentally tough. He stays locked in, always communicating with his teammates and making sure everyone is in the right spot. His leadership on the defensive end is obvious, even as a young player. He has a natural feel for organizing the defense and making sure every possession is contested. His presence on the floor has a ripple effect. It isn't just about the shots he blocks or the rebounds he grabs. It's about the shots opponents don't take because he's there. Players settle for jumpers instead of attacking the rim, and those low percentage looks add up over the course of a game. Wemby doesn't just protect the paint, he influences the entire offensive strategy of opposing teams. His defensive dominance isn't flashy in the sense of constant, highlight reel plays, but it's relentless. Possession after possession, he's there, making life difficult for anyone who dares to challenge him. His consistency on defense is just as impressive as his peaks. He doesn't take plays off, and that kind of effort is rare, especially for a player logging heavy minutes. Wemby's defense isn't just about stopping points, it's about creating opportunities. His ability to grab defensive rebounds and start fast breaks is a huge part of his team's transition game. He turns defense into offense, and that's a skill that's incredibly valuable in today's NBA. Teams know they have to account for him on both ends of the floor, and that kind of two-way impact is what makes him so special. Watching Wemby play defense is like seeing a masterclass in timing, positioning, and effort. He doesn't just react to what opponents do, he dictates it. He controls the paint, disrupts passing lanes, and forces teams to adjust their entire game plan. It isn't just about the numbers, though those are obviously amazing. It's about the way he makes his presence felt every second he's on the court. Wemby's defense is a blend of physical dominance, mental sharpness, and relentless effort. He isn't just a defensive player, he's a defensive force, and that's what makes him one of the most exciting players to watch. Every possession feels like a battle, and more often than not, Wemby comes out on top. Overall though, the matchup between Wemby and Nikola Jokic has the potential to be one of the most iconic rivalries in basketball history. These two players represent the evolution of the game in completely different ways, yet their clashes feel like a perfect storm of skill, strategy, and sheer dominance. Jokic, with his unmatched offensive brilliance, redefines what it means to be a center, orchestrating games with his passing, scoring, and basketball IQ. On the other side, Wemby's defensive mastery and ability to alter entire game plans show a level of versatility and dominance rarely seen, especially at his age. Their contrasting styles create fireworks every time they share the court. Jokic's offensive genius is often countered by Wemby's disruptive defense, making each possession a chess match. These aren't just games, they're battles of the present versus the future, of mastery versus potential. Over time, as Wemby continues to refine his game and Jokic maintains his prime, their matchups could become defining moments of this era. Years from now, fans may look back at their battles as the cornerstone of a golden age in the NBA, with Wemby and Jokic pushing each other to even greater heights and cementing their legacies in basketball lore. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.